Hey, Femme, it's your girls, Carolina and Tessa. We are excited to deliver to you another amazing episode. This time by a filmmaker who happened to contact us, who is also a fellow listener to the show. And we love that we were able to get in touch with a filmmaker, a listener, but also someone who is doing more for fellow filmmakers. So we felt like we had to bring him on. His name is Omar Lopex. He had just recently completed his debut 16 feature film with an all-women cast and shot it entirely in Tijuana, Mexico. We really delve into his background in art as a whole and his relationship with Tijuana. And we really love the story and what he is focusing on with that. But also his production company, which is Standard Fantastic Pictures, has launched a fellowship program for young filmmakers in the transborder region. So he's really trying to pair both a team from the US and Mexico to work together. And we think that's really cool and different and just inclusive and overall amazing. So it was really fun. He just gives it to you straight. Really loved that. There's no trying to make something sound better than it is. And I think that was really fun to spill the tea with him on just his experience with filmmaking, shooting on film, which is really cool. And I think if you guys want to see his work, you have to check out his website.
Yeah, definitely check it out. We were just rewatching the trailer before we signed on with him today, and it's just so beautiful. And I love, like, one of the things he talks about is, like, you know, he's into the tech stuff of it and the details of cameras and lenses and film and all of that. But like what really drives him is the art. You know, he's still an artist first. And I think there's something to be said about people that find the beauty in things, which is kind of the, I don't know if it's the log line necessarily, but what his film is about is, you know, that a lot of stories about Tijuana and the border concentrates on, you know, the bad stuff, the stuff that you see on the news. But like, there's so much beauty and culture and so many things that exist there too. So like, that's what his movie really concentrates on. So I just love his mindset around that. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. So Omar was really cool to talk to, and I know you guys will love this. So enjoy. We were just wondering, Tess and I were talking, where are you from originally?
I'm from San Diego. Okay. Yeah. Whenever I'm abroad, I always say, like, I was born in California. To be sort of vague. Because I'm my parents are everyone. My family. I'm Mexican, and then I was born in San Diego, but I never really call myself Mexican or American or Mexican American. I just never. I don't know. I don't know if I like qualify for either side. I really feel like I need to. I feel really comfortable just like being Mexican when I want to, and then being American when I want to. Yeah. And then when I'm abroad, I'm from California.
I like that.
I'm not American.
I totally get it. Yeah. I totally get it. My mom's from Poland, my dad's from Colombia. And just to be this hodgepodge of things, it's hard to say I'm just one thing. So I get the whole like, when I'm talking to my Colombian family, then I'm definitely like, you know, in Latina mode. And when I'm with my Polish peeps, we're going to Polish mode. And if anyone asks, I'm from New York because they might not know what New Jersey is. So I get it.
Yeah. It feels really good. I've always liked it, like dancing from one, you know, jumping from one thing to another, you know. It's been very convenient, but it also feels more even like genuine. I think like your situation. It's like he's just now I'm this, now I'm that. It's nice.
Yeah, it's all me. At the end of the day, it's all me. Yeah. I get that. Well, Omar, we were so excited to get an email from you. You stated you're a fellow listener, right, to the show?
Yeah.
We were wondering how you found us. And we'll get into more about you, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I like to listen to stuff like while I. Did it pop out for a second?
There we go.
I like to listen to stuff while I'm working. Obviously, I can't do it when I'm like doing like sound stuff.
Right.
So I edit all my own work, and that's when it really gets sort of like nose to the grindstone is when I'm doing sound work because I can't have anything on in the background.
Yeah.
So I love
it.
like doing the assembly and things like that in color and things like that because then I have like stuff in the background.
Right.
You know?
No, I totally. I am the same. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what it's like.
Yeah.
That's really awesome to hear because we are so excited to have someone like you on our podcast because when you reached out, yes, it's always nice to hear that you're a fan, but we really also loved your recent work that we'll get into and your production company and what you're doing with the fellowship program that you have.
Sure.
So that was really meaningful to us as well. But we also want to geek out on like 16mm, what that is all about. But let's take it back. Tell us how long you've been doing filmmaking and when you started Standard Fantastic Pictures.
So I started making, movies I started this production company and started making movies this way in like 2014 or 15, which was kind of like a late start. I was like 30 or 31, something like that. I'd been a contemporary artist.
It's never late. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah. On your podcast, you hear a lot of that sort of thing. Like, I'm starting out now, but it's like, but
it's great to hear that people didn't necessarily go to school for this or have started later on in their journey. Or vice versa, started when they were 12. It all varies. Yeah. So for you, did you go to film school or
no? I guess like I was saying, I was an artist for like over 10 years, but really just jumping from medium to medium, kind of like whatever interested me. Sculpture, installation. I settled on photo for a while and did like wet plate collodion projects. Still photography, and then I think the wet plate stuff, I don't know if you know what that is. That's like Civil War style, like you've seen it. Kind
of like a tintype sort of.
Exactly. Tintypes.
Okay.
It's all hands on. You do it all with your hands. For like 3 years my hands were like black because I didn't like wearing gloves because it's hard, Anyways, that tangible, that like hands-on sort of thing, I think that pulled me into wanting to work or with film versus like digital stuff when I started making movies. And I don't know, it's one of those things, you ask sometimes people like, how did you get here? And there's like a natural progression, like, well, this happened and this and this and this. So I keep trying to think of mine, and sometimes I there's like little points in my life, they go like, oh, that's kind of like a movie thing. Like I guess I was kind of, but like I love making. In high school, did you ever have to do like video projects, like make a movie about something?
I never did in high school, but I did have a photography class, like actual, developing film and everything like that. But yeah, that's the only.
So did I. Sucked at it real bad.
I always liked developing the film way more than taking the actual pictures. Like my pictures were awful, but I had so much fun in the darkroom.
I was the opposite. I used to cheat. I used to get because in high school, I don't know what yours was like, but at mine, they never changed the chemicals and photography, all this stuff. You have to it's very exact. It's like baking, right?
Yeah.
Just follow the recipe, but no one ever does.
That would not be me. I like to cook, that I can't bake. Too exact. I'm too experimental.
I could never develop anything decent. So I just started taking my rolls to the lab, to the photo lab, and then printing that way.
Hey, whatever works.
Yeah.
I'm totally
statute of limitations. They can't get in trouble, I guess.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, it turns out eventually you fell in love with it. So, it's funny how that goes. But
yeah.
So you didn't have any like pinpoints that you can really follow. And I think it sometimes takes a long journey for us to then like make sense of where we're at and why we're here. Right. But I guess, I mean, even another reason why I can just tell, like, I guess of your artist background, like even talking about it, are the pictures. Like on your website, there's like a lot of emotion and just the framing and black and white. If we're talking about 10, like your latest film is in black and white. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I can see you definitely have an eye for artistic choices. So did you
Thanks.
then just one day decide I'm going to switch the medium up and go with the camera?
Yeah, basically, I need to pick up a more romantic sort of like thing, but it really was sort of yeah. There's little stories that I can remember, like, oh yeah, I always like doing this. I mean, movies have always been part of my life, but it feels like one of those things that was like in front of your face.
Mm-hmm.
Like going back to movies, right? There's like the best friends, right? And they don't realize that they're made for each other, but they're right there in front of each other the whole time. Then you take off your glasses. Oh wow, she's hot. Like 90s trope,
Totally.
It was like that.
Yes.
My whole life. I was lucky enough to where we had like a really old like cinema, like half a mile away from my house, like growing up, and it was like $1.99 for 2 movies.
Wow.
Yeah, really sticky floors and like really grimy, nasty, and
hey, even the ones that are $20 for a movie ticket are sticky floors.
yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I remember they bumped it up to like $2.99, and it was like people were pissed. Like that was insane. It's like and video stores. Like I used to go with my parents. I remember going with my dad, and we would go because they didn't always have what you wanted.
Right.
They'd have like 6 copies, and this movie just came out, and you'd be lucky to get it. And we would probably spend half a day sometimes going from store to store just trying to get stuff.
Yeah.
And then come back home with like all these movies for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And but that's not unique. I think everybody had, a lot of people had childhoods like that where it was like movies. And one day, I guess this is the closest like origin story I can think of is so I put on like I hung up like a lot of my shows, like my art shows. And you like anything, like any event or anything like that, you work real hard and you put it up, and then it happens and you have X amount of degree of success, and then the night's over and people leave and you're cleaning up and you're like, all right, now what? How do you decompress?
Right.
And it was always like, oh, let's go to a movie. And that's always just what I always wanted to do. Like as soon as I was, had my own time, I just wanted to go to the movies. And then I realized, like, why don't I just like make movies?
Mm-hmm.
And it felt really, really stupid. Like I had never had that thought in my head, like, oh, I wish I could make movies, but I just can't. Like, if you follow like my artwork or like just other projects, I've been doing, really hard to do, difficult, stubborn stuff that doesn't make any money for like 15 years.
Yeah.
That idea just never popped into my head. Like, why don't I make a movie? And so yeah.
But don't you see the common denominator?
Yeah.
It's like just as stupid and hard at times, honestly, the whole filmmaking thing. So you already had that challenge. Like you're used to putting yourself through those challenges,
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, and then I have I raised my 3 younger brothers. They're a lot younger than I am. I have 4 kids, and they're good. They're all good kids, but like any kids, like they don't listen. Like nobody listens. I didn't listen. They're crazy.
Right.
So like being on set, when like everything's like falling apart, it really feels like normal to me. It just feels like home. It feels even better because people like everybody's actually trying to do stuff. Everything's falling apart, nothing's working, and everything's a disaster, but everyone is still sort of like a team.
Yeah.
It's like a dream.
That's kind of a testament to like being a parent and a filmmaker. It's like you're already used to that chaos. It's nothing.
I think if you go backwards, or either way you go, one informs the other.
Totally.
I love that. So then when did Yeah, so then you started Standard Fantastic Pictures in 2014 or 15? Is that what I'm hearing? Or you
Yeah,
then
yeah. I think that's like the first like sort of short film that I made. So I started making, you know, weird art films.
Mhm.
uh-huh.
We love that
And
stuff. So
We love that. And I like immediately like guys on his website, there's like this woman's like I don't know what her mouth's being stuffed out. It's very like weird, but I'm
oh, that yeah,
immediately sucked in. Like
and
cuz
that
there's like
was
a weird emotion
Mhm.
that you're just triggered by. I don't know. We love that
yeah,
shit.
and I think that was like my first sort of like straight movie too. Like people talk to each other,
Yeah.
things happen, the basic elements of a story. Before that, it was a lot of like dream imagery, sort of like sound and things like that. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah, just like weird art films. And then that movie that you're talking about, Sin Eater, that was in 20. I think I shot that in 2014, and it came out like 2015, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are all your films done on the like 16 mm?
Everything that I think counts.
Mhm.
Everything that like to sound like a douchebag, like my everything in my oeuvre.
Yeah.
Like I use my phone for like a lot of stuff, and like when I've done videos, like promo videos and things for friends or for
Mm-hmm.
work or whatever, or with other cameras. But everything that like I count
Mhm.
is yeah, it's been on film.
And I mean, shooting on film is difficult. Like we've wanted to do it and we never have because it's just so you have to get it right, like you only have so much film to try again. And then when you're editing, it's like you get one shot, because you're literally cutting it up. Like talk to us a
Yeah.
little more about that.
Um. Yeah. That was definitely my experience. I think I was a little more used to it, or um, not thrown by it, maybe just because my age, maybe the era. So like
Mhm.
I remember. So I was talking to a friend of mine who does like event photography, and she shoots digital for these things, and you get your hit list, or punch list, whatever you call it, and get this person, get this happening, and
Mhm.
you go, and then the hard part is the edit afterwards. And she says, like, but it's really easy for me because she's a little older than I am,
Mhm.
because I always shot film, so I don't shoot like 10 million pictures,
Mhm.
so I
Mhm.
have basically what I need. And when I was a kid, I
Hmm.
remember like field trips, I'd get one of those disposable cameras,
Yeah.
Yep.
little clickies, and
Oh yeah. I
go
did
like,
that too.
yeah, yeah, like whale watching or whatever we did, right?
Mhm.
And like I
Yeah.
learned early on, like I blew the camera on the bus ride over, just like flew it around with my friends, and then
Yeah.
like whatever we're there to do, like, oh, no, I don't have any pictures for
Yeah.
the whales, like I'm done. And
Mhm.
then I get a roll back, and it's just like all like stupid faces,
Right.
uh so I think I was used to that, like not just getting a ton of coverage and then editing later. So
Mhm.
that helps a little bit, I think, with film, or it gets you used to like, yeah, I think,
You learned to be more precious about what you had and like selective because you knew like you had limitations
yeah,
essentially and you've
yeah,
learned to like work within them.
yeah.
Is there any other reason why you decide like visually or contextually that you wanted to work on film? Because visually like everyone's like it
Yeah.
feels nostalgic and some of your the imagery you have reminds me of Jean-Luc Godard, which I really love, like all his work. So yeah, was there another reason that you felt drawn to producing on film?
Um, yeah, I think it's just like everyone has their line, like
Mm-hmm.
about this, especially, like I found your guys' podcast. I found lots of, as a filmmaker with like lots of time in front of the computer, you're always listening to stuff
Right.
related to this. So everyone, if I'm honest, everybody who works in film, and this was the same with like tintypes, like everyone has their line, like, well, digital is fake, or there's no this, and like with film you get that, and that's all true, it is. But I think just the reason I do it is just like I like how it looks, and you can't. That's the only way to do it is with film. Instead of like shooting something nice and then trying to crap it up and make it look old, you know. Because it does more when I think when you shoot film, you're doing more than just shooting on a different medium. Like it changes, it's a whole other language. Even like 16 versus Super 8 versus 35, you know, getting into like the geek out stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's a different language, even like of movement. You know, I put a 35 millimeter lens on my camera and I can see X, right? But that same lens on a 35 camera, you see a lot more, right? So if I'm you know, if I'm doing just you right there sitting down where you are, right, your portrait, I could be this close to you with a 35 and you feel that closeness. Even if we frame it exactly the same way, you know, you're the same size, you feel closer. With the 16, I'd have to back up. And things like that, like I think changed the language of like how you shoot and the movie, because you're standing in different places, you're feeling different. Even as a viewer, you feel different when you see the same frame, you know. I think the camera moves differently. Like my camera weighs a lot less than 35 does. And you know, I don't have like a steady cam set up, so like, but even like the pans, I don't know, I just feel like I've worked with a lot of different cameras, you know. And to me it feels, when I move or what I look at even feels different. So it's not just like that the film, the end, you know, where it's registered is different. It's also, I think, how you make things is different.
Right, like the transitions and all of that.
I mean, I'm constantly amazed because I personally am not super into the technical stuff of it all, because I'm not a camera operator and I like to learn a little bit, but it just doesn't stick in my head because it's not what I do, you know? So I'm just constantly amazed by how much of a difference things like this make, you know, whether it's the millimeters of the film or like I remember when I first really learned what the difference is between like a dolly in versus a zoom shot. Like, yes, like I knew how like doing it was different, but I was like, aren't they going to produce the same effect? And they don't. And it's like my mind just wrapping around that. I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. So, you know, it's the same kind of thing with this, or like frames per second, or just all that stuff that makes such a difference. But if you're not into the technical stuff of it, you might not even realize until you watch them side by side, or, you know, two examples of it. And you're like, oh my gosh, I see how different it actually is. So I think that's so amazing.
I think you have to, well, here I am like spitting advice. You have to this, you have to that. I think it helps, you know, to know all that technical stuff, but to just use it, you know, but keep the spirit of what you're doing, not just focus on the technical. This is something that I, through experience, ran into a lot with like photographers, versus, and this is just my experience, but like if you hang out with like, you know, like oil painters or painters, you know, people like that, like technical things can pop up, but you talk a lot more about like the painting itself or the feeling or what worked or what didn't work. You don't talk so much about like, you know, exactly what chemicals or what brush or whatever,
and what
you know.
brush.
I think where you get a lot of you know, people who because they love it, you know, and people that can focus on, you know, exact f-stops and exact like metrics, things like that, you know, like very technical things, which I mean, you need those. Again, I'm always, you know, I'm not saying, you know, you know, who cares about that? It's important, but like it's like I've found you can really sort of get too narrow of a focus on just the technical things and not worry about like, well, what is that even for? Like you have to have it do something. You have to have like a feeling or a spirit or something that you're trying to accomplish with it.
Absolutely.
You know?
I love that.
Because otherwise it's just movement on film. It's not art if you don't have the feeling behind it.
Or a perfect image. You know, I feel like a lot of photography is chasing this perfect still image, you know, like it is lit perfectly. It is the, you know, which I mean, I love, you know, beautiful lighting is great, but you need more than that.
Yeah. Like, absolutely.
Yeah. I think that is great advice for anyone who's even trying to tackle on something like that. And that's what I am, like, stepping into a new place of, like, directing. For me especially, I'm trying to learn the technical things because that's of course important, but I don't want it to stop me from focusing on the emotion and what I want at the end of the day. If I know it's like in here, I'll figure out the technical stuff. And that's why you have a band, I think a team around you who can help also inform you of things that you don't know. And I'm the first to admit if I don't know something.
Yeah.
So I think that's always helpful, to just to rely on your instincts too at the end of the day and what you want to feel. Because it is like, I wouldn't know how to work on film either, but it does sound kind of fun to like create
Yeah, I
that.
suggest it. Just practice, like get the cash out of your wallet, practice, put it on the table, and then just burn it all and watch it burn. And that's like the feeling of shooting on film.
Love that.
But I think that's
well
just for
said.
us. I had a friend who shot on VistaVision as a student, and he do you know how VistaVision works?
I don't.
It's like,
Nope.
so normal cameras, they go like vertically, like like in a circle, and the VistaVision goes like horizontally. Same thing, like it rolls through, but it goes like horizontally. Without getting into it, it just eats up a lot of film really fast.
Oh, okay.
And he said, like, the second that he turned the camera on and heard the whir of the motor, he said it felt just like money, just like putting money into a little just get sucked in. It was just like money getting churned up and eaten up. And I feel that way even with like 16.
Yeah.
But I think there's a couple, another reason that it sort of didn't get thrown off by the film is that, like, I think there's a couple different ways that you can try to make art or anything really, and it's one of them is, okay, I have this vision, maybe like the Stanley Kubrick way, or what we're told is, was his way, is like, I have a vision of X and that's what I want it to be. And now I will bend the world and make everything that I do, whatever I need to do to achieve this exact thing that I want. And then the other method is like, all right, I'm in a room. What do I got? I got this thing. I got that thing. I got that thing. What can I make with this? Or like, like, what's in my fridge? What can I make with what I have in my fridge?
Yeah.
And I'm not like, and it's more nuanced than that. But in general, I lean towards, like, I guess a mix. But, just because of my circumstances, it's a lot of times it's more like the first one. And it isn't to say like, all right, I'm just going to do whatever, and whatever I have, that's it. And if it's crap, I'll just, like, I reshot this feature. I reshot half of it.
Oh, wow.
Because it needed to happen. So it's not necessarily like, just do things once and whatever crap you end up with, that's what, but,
right.
It is a little bit.
But you got to start. It's a process.
Yeah.
Of trial and error, as always.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get into that. Your debut feature, Anna, who they pulled out of the river.
It's hard to say. I know.
No, I love it. I'm gonna read what's written on your website because I think it's unique, and I love the message of the story. So, avoiding Tijuana's tired tropes, drugs, prostitution, and the border, Anna offers a simultaneously mythical and more accurate version of a city whose treasures are the intimate personal narratives she holds. So
it sounds really good when you say it.
Thank you. It is. It's really great. I mean,
it's a beautiful description. Yeah.
It is beautiful. Yeah. It's beautifully written, but also the message in there just like makes me want to know more about Anna and the story. What is the mythical version and treasures of the city? Did you have family in Tijuana? Tell us more about the story. Tessa, oh my gosh. Vitafair is so cool. We can literally rent movies for so cheap.
And movies we probably wouldn't have gotten to see otherwise. Indie movies that don't normally make it to the streamers. What a great resource.
But how cool is it that the filmmakers make money too? Like actual money, not fractions of a cent based on hours upon hours of views.
Exactly. Filmmakers set their own price for a 24-hour rental, and viewers reap the benefit of micropricing. Everybody wins, and there's so much to choose from.
It's so simple. Fair trade film monetization. And all you have to do is visit vidafair.com. That's VIDA fair.com to make an account today.
Sure. I don't know how well you know like San Diego TJ region, but it's
I've been there twice, and
okay, yeah.
I got stuck at the border once. That's my. I was able to use my Spanish to get through.
You got through, yeah.
Yes.
It just depends who you get, like, and because people are always saying, like people that are citizens are like, oh, I don't know, I don't have my passport, this and that, but like they can just make your life hell for like a couple hours, but they can't not let you back into the country.
Yeah.
Like, and the scary thing is like they have all your information there already. Like I've seen people cross with like Costco cards, library cards, like nothing, and that's the scary thing is because you're in there, they have your picture and everything about you, your favorite ice cream.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, with that Costco card, you can find out a lot about a person.
That's hilarious.
There's lots of crossing back and forth.
Yeah.
I feel like I've crossed a lot in my life, and even so, that's like nothing compared to like there's people that just like they cross every day. Lots of kids that I went to school with, they had to like cross every day, and I think about that every time I'm in line and I'm like wanting to blow my brains out, and I've been there for hours, and they're like, yeah, but this is still like nothing compared to what a lot of people had to do. It's great. You've got San Diego on this side, TJ on that side. I grew up going maybe like 3-4 times a week with my grandma for like different business, and she wouldn't care now. She was I didn't learn until later that she was like a loan shark, like not like the break your knees kind, but like
well, you don't know.
I didn't understand it. I would go with her and we would we'd cross and we'd drive to different people's houses, and we'd show up, and then we'd sit in the living room and have tea or drinks or whatever, and talk, and then they'd hang out, and then these people would give my grandma wads of cash, and then we would leave. And I was like, what is this? Like, I don't understand.
It's an expensive tea party.
Yeah. And so we did that. I did anything. I just, I tagged along while she watched me.
You were the cute little kid to make the people feel guilty if they didn't pay up.
Yeah. Well, I remember too, she sold jewelry. And sometimes on the way back, she would load me up. I looked like a kid pimp. Like she would load me up with all of this, with all this jewelry, like necklaces and rings and different things like that. Like if anybody asks, this is yours. You got it for your birthday, or this.
That's amazing.
So I grew up, and then I have family over there. Like now, a lot of them have crossed to San Diego, but back then, most of them were still in TJ. And so we do that. And then it was bouncing around in different aunts' houses. And my great grandmother was alive back then too. So a lot of like visiting family.
A lot of women present in your life.
Yeah, pretty much. This will serve as like my like therapy session too. Like, oh yeah, I never thought
of that.
Oh my God,
amazing.
But
I'm here for it. Yeah, for our listeners, it's an all women cast as well. And I always ask, like we always do. We always want to know, why are you the one telling the story, especially like around a lot of women perspectives. So I always feel like it does relate to the women who have touched you in your personal lives or helped shape you, or who you spent. And if that means spending a lot of time with grandma, that's like a huge, she's a huge impact on your life, and you might not know it. It's something simple as like traveling with her on a daily basis. I think it's subconsciously, it's like there,
Oh yeah, and I would say pretty consciously. Like I another thing that I stole from those early was, like everybody's Mexican grandma, she watches soap operas.
Mhm.
And
Telenovelas.
and there was one that always stuck with me, probably because I was like in love with them because I was like 7 years old. But it was a show called Muchachitas, like chicks,
Mhm.
and it was like, I don't know how many, 6 or 7 like chicks, right? That is like the early 90s, and they're like, I don't even remember what the plot was, but there was this one bad guy, right, Federico, and he was like, he would kill people, like one by one. He was like killing people in the show and all these like crazy ways. I remember once he put like a bomb on a remote control car, and he like drove the car underneath someone and it blew up, and at the end the girls get their like revenge on this guy, right? And they like, I don't remember if they bury him alive or they do something like that, but all this like crazy violent stuff that like grandmas are watching, while they're making, like cooking. And I stole a lot of that from that for this movie, that sort of just like basic structure, the feeling, I think, of sort of,
Abuela's getting revenge.
yeah. Well, like of a lot, this like world of women, this like, like things don't have to make sense, like the crazier the better. And I think that helped a lot, for my budget, for my limitations, because I think they teach you, or they encourage you, with limited resources, like, okay, stick to one location, one actor, 2 actors, something like that, make it really good. And I was like, when you watch this movie, there's like a lot of locations. And I think it translates too. It's not just like, from the creator side, knowing it, like it looks like stupid. Like I heard that it sounds like, okay, I took that advice and then just threw it out the window. There's like so many different locations, a lot of different actors. And the telenovela sort of feel, I think, helped in being able to just be really like melodramatic about it. And there was a lot of stuff that we did that I think would have been a lot harder to do if we were trying to make like, I don't know if I call it like a straight movie, but like a very like,
linear, not simple, but
like a Paul Thomas Anderson movie or something like that, where like this is the real world and like real, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah, so you still kind of absurd
with.
and dramatic in your choices.
Yeah, I think you can get away with a lot more because of the style of the whole thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's hard to do. That's really hard to do, and probably what most people would advise not to do for your first like feature.
Yeah.
But it's a staple to you as a director and what art or work you want to make. It sounds like that's what you're drawn to and that's what you want to do. So of course really you're going to break all the rules.
Unpractical stuff.
Hey, if you know how to do it and do it well, who cares what other people think? That's just a quote unquote rule because it makes it easier for people who don't know how to work around it. So yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Cool.
Omar just breaking all the rules on our show today. I love it.
Don't tell my parents.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into a little bit more about the fellowship that you've created through your production company, and just to tell our listeners about that, because I was reading like what all you get if you're a part of it, and I was like, wow, this is impressive. Like, tell us a little bit about it.
I'll give you the Standard Fantastic Pictures Transborder Film Fellowship. It's a lot of words. Basically, that comes out of. So like I said, I've been an artist for a long time before I started making movies. And it's wherever you are, the resources I think for artists are pretty, there's not a lot out there. There's not a lot of cheese. A lot of people fighting over this tiny little block of cheese. And especially so I think for like direct, what you would call like direct support to artists. Because, without going into it too much or sounding, sour, like what usually happens is like big, people with money, like grantors, they give money to like institutions,
Mhm.
aka like middlemen, stuff like that. And then because us artists are too stupid to know what to do with money, they give it to them, and then they can make programs that will hire artists or they commission artists to do
Mhm.
stuff. And that's great, that's good. But in my experience and a lot of like artists that I talk to, like the best stuff is just like when you get cash,
Yeah.
or like you get like commissioned to do something, like.
And you can really own it, take ownership of it, and do what you want with it.
Yeah. And I think if it's not just me, like all these artists, if you're living, this life, if you've dedicated yourself to art and you're, not just trying to like make money, you're not on like Wall Street, you're sort of like acta non verba, like you're doing it. So just give me the cash. Just like,
Yeah.
I'm doing my part already. Starving artist part, give me some cash so I can make something. So
Right.
that's like the crude way of saying like I wanted to do something like that. And so it's pretty modest, but I think a couple things that set the fellowship apart or make it interesting, I think, is that it's aimed at like 18 to 25-year-olds. And one of the stipulations, there's not a lot of stipulations. One of them though is that in your team, in your like main like production team, we want somebody from Mexico and somebody from the US. And that can look however you want. It could be like, director and producer from here, but the screenwriters from over there, or just it could be anything. But we want this sort of like
hybrid.
Yeah,
and like
something experimental.
Two cultures and having them work together. No, I love that.
Yeah, there's a lot of exploitation, I think, that happens. I don't have to say I think that happens in Mexico, all over the world, but especially around the border is what I'm more familiar with. And even when it comes to movies, like you get like big productions with money that go down there, and it's only to save a buck. Like a lot of the crew on my movie and actors and stuff, they've been on those productions, and they've told me what it's like, and it's like it's not like for the locations or for the people that are there or to try to do, it's like it's like the most of Hollywood, it's like cash, it's money,
right?
So it's cheaper, we come in, we cut a lot of corners, a lot of stuff we can do, and we spend less. And then also going back to Anna, trying to avoid, I think the border, drugs and prostitution are they're important topics. It's not like they're not important or irrelevant, but that's all there is for movies about TJ or this region. Like all of my actors and my crew, so anybody that I know that's in TJ working in films, they've been a prostitute, or they've been a drug mule, or they've been a migrant, right? Trying to cross over, and those are the only roles. And so it was kind of nice for them to be like, oh, I'm like a lady.
There's something to be said too about like, you're not ignoring it. You're not pretending it's not there. You're just not, that's not what the story is about, So yeah.
I think TJ, it's got, it's not like I'm discovered. Everybody knows it, but they don't treat it like it, like it's like an LA or New York or like place like it has like so much, not just potential, but like character. But it doesn't get that sort of treatment. It's very one-sided. I think a lot of the projects that take place in TJ, usually ones that start from the American side, right? So this mixed team is trying to address that, and maybe we could get a project that's all Mexican crew, and there's like one token American guy. I don't know, or woman. I'm trying to think of the other. I don't have my idiot sheet in front of me. It's like one from each side, 18 to 25. Oh, fiction. We want the projects to be fiction, just because maybe it's just a feeling I have, but I just feel there's a lot more like resources for like documentary projects that aren't it's both sides, right? If you're trying to like make money and you're like, it's, you know, you do fiction, but then if you're like working on this like small scale and you're doing stuff around like the border, it's more like documentary stuff is easier to get off the ground. And I feel like that's already taken care of and they can do a way better job than I can. So fiction projects, people from both sides, 18 to 25. Oh, and we're want to try to emphasize that it's open to people that even aren't filmmakers. Whether this could be their first film, or maybe they've done a couple things, or maybe they've never done a film at all. And so we're providing the film, the cameras, developing, the processing, the scanning. But then another important part too is sort of like the mentorship aspect. So I've been like slowly, we've got like like 4 or 5 artists right now, but I'm trying to like get more to get this sort of like pool of artists in the region to act as like sort of like mentors for the project. And that can mean a bunch of different things, right? Because it just depends on the project. You know, we're giving out 1,600 feet of film to...
Yeah, I'm looking at your breakdown. It's incredible. You're giving, you're sourcing film. You have a mentor who can help you, but like you have the lens kit, everything around. The film itself. That's amazing.
Yeah, and depending on how much, I mean, you know about like shooting ratios, like depending on what you do, you know, you could use every foot, depending on your project, really, right? But maybe use every foot of film. And that's like 40 minutes of film about, you know, or maybe, you know, you do something else and it's a shorter movie. It just depends on the sort of projects that we get. I think the last thing, and this comes from like a personal experience, is the proposal that we're asking people to submit is just submit one PDF with, you know, we'd like these sort of, you know, there's a list of things that we'd like, but we'll just try to make it really simple as possible. Because you know what it's like when you go and like try to get grants or pitch things or do whatever, and like everybody has a different form, everybody has a different sheet, they have different, you know, and that's the point where I always feel great on set when things are falling apart. I want to kill myself when like I have to type out a form online. I can't stand it. So we try to make it send one PDF with your project, and you know, someone who's made a bunch of movies is going to have a different proposal than someone who's never made a movie at all.
Right.
So you know, myself and the other artists that are part of the fellowship, you know, we can look at a proposal and see what looks good or what's interesting without having to make people jump through a bunch of hoops, I think.
Yeah, because I was going to say too, it also serves to your point, whether you're new to this or have never done film before, or you're more experienced, keeping it to that kind of one page gives kind of almost like an even playing field too, to like help, you know, pitch yourself, especially if you're new in the space. So that's kind of nice too, because then you can focus on the story and again, how you're going to support it, of course, but you don't have to feel like that pressure of a resume when you're like listing all your credits and you're like, oh no, I only have one page.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's kind of cool too, because it does kind of open that opportunity to give a chance to those who really want it and want to break grounds with you.
Yeah, a lot of times I think ideas, you know, that's in movies, that's right, that's like your pitch, like your one line, you know, like a lot of times the best ideas, they're just like one sentence.
Yeah.
You know, that's not always, but a lot of times you can read one sentence and go like, whoa, we got a lot of stuff to flesh out here maybe, but like that's a solid idea. Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
it's possible.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to is this your first year doing this fellowship program?
Yeah, first year. I just you know, I finished Anna, and I've got a bunch of other projects, you know, lined up, getting off the ground, but just having it finished was like a big, like, you know what it's like when you finish like a big project and you're like, I can do anything now.
Yeah.
Go outside. The sun.
Oh my gosh.
So pandemic wasn't really a change for me.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot that changed, you know. I was very, very lucky that that I didn't have it too rough, but I just mean like socially, Like there was no difference. Like
Yeah.
it's just like working. Like, oh yeah, there's so many
No,
parts.
I get it.
You
Just
know,
stay. Yeah, it gave me time to
yeah,
focus more on my work, our work.
Yeah.
Both of us felt
yeah.
that way. So I get it. But do you I want to
Oh yeah,
see
yeah.
Anna. Yeah, so whenever you can, but where is it? Is it going through the film festival route?
I have. Yeah, I'm
Where are
gonna
you
submit it
at?
to film festivals. I have to. I mean, to be honest, I just have to shell out the cash because it's like a giant file, and I have to update my
Mm.
Vimeo that they
Oh
got.
yeah,
Yeah,
we know that life.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is the
Oh,
part
the
in the interview where he
space.
talks about his credit card maxing.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about the stories that come through it.
Yeah, I'm excited
So
to
Yeah.
see the movies that make it through. It sounds like they're going to be awesome.
Oh yeah, like my little brother makes movies, and he, but they're all like his own like separate projects, and I love like it's a totally different style than me, but I love like seeing when like something like new comes out because I don't know anything about it, you know. Or like he'll ask me for, can I use this or can I use that? Do you have this? And I don't know what it's for, right? And then I'll see what he used it in. And so yeah, that like that young energy and ideas, it'd be great to see what comes out of it. I'm really excited to hope that like maybe some other institutions will, you know, please feel free to copy and do this. Not like direct
Right.
fellowship is an original idea,
Uh-huh.
but just like I would love people to actually do it more down here. There's, you
Yeah.
know, at least in San Diego, there's, you know, there's very few opportunities, and I just wish there was more. And I'm hoping to, you know, to show. I mean, I'm, you know, not, you know, I don't have a trust fund. I'm a filmmaker, and I can pull this off. It's tight, but I mean, I can pull it off, and I can fund it. There's no like institutional backing like behind the fellowship.
Wow.
There's no like other grantor or anything. It's just me, and I would I hope that people would see like, you know, that it's in any medium. You know, like you could do this. You know, like I said, a fellowship is not like an original idea, but it needs to like they aren't any here in San Diego, and it would be great if there was, you know, direct support for a painter or for a sculptor or whatever. And it doesn't have to be. This is a very modest project, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be
I
huge,
completely agree. Tessa and I feel the same way. We just need cash and we can get filming on our on our film. And
Even
so it's just like hard. It is really hard to source, and I could go on about that, but I completely agree.
This is very modest. It's very small, but if there had been something like this when I was starting, you know, like that would have changed my life. That would have been huge.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we can get institutions to start doing more, just more, even if it's small. That'd be great.
I mean, I hope that this inspires other people to do this, other institutions, other production companies, you know, whatever it is. But I mean, it's a great idea. So I really hope people see it and realize that they can do that too. They can contribute and do things like this.
I'm so grateful that, you reached out, because this is really an amazing program that I think will help people. And if not, hopefully learn something more about how film is hard. And it's okay. It's okay. We all come. Yeah, I think it is too. That's why we do it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, will you also, Omar, let our listeners know your website so they can find the trailer to your film as well as the fellowship information, and if there's anything else you want to share as far as social media or how people can get a hold of you?
Let's see. The website is standardfantastic.com. Instagram is standard.fantastic. All the links and everything are on the website. Yeah. The exciting news, like besides all this is I have the film rights to a story called A Distant Episode. It's by the author Paul Bowles. It was like a generation before The Beats.
Okay.
That's one of the projects that I have like lined up. So I just like saying it because it's like anything, you know, like it makes it more true. It just saying that it's happening. And that's really exciting for me. This is the first project where like that was like a whole, you know, project in itself. It was like a year and a half of like emailing back and forth to get the rights, and learned a lot from that. Contracts and lawyers and stuff like that. That was fun.
Well, congratulations. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see
Yeah.
what comes of that.
Really exciting.
Thanks for listening to Femme Regard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in every Friday for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and review. You can also join the Femme Fam on Patreon. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.